Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Geek Authority Show. My name is Lorenzo Marchessi. I'm the host of this particular show where I get to interview all kinds of wonderful and talented people. They include actors, writers, directors, producers, cosplayers, publicists, you name it, I've talked to them. And today we have an extra special talent. He's an actor, a singer, wonderful performer. His name is Anthony Gruppuso, and I tell you, I've seen him perform his one-man show, which absolutely was brilliant and funny and unexpectedly surprising how funny it was. So welcome, Anthony. Thank you for doing this for me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
You were born on the stage, or when did you get the acting bug?
No, I wasn't born on the stage. I was born in New York, but I grew up in Florida. And one of our first trips back to New York, I was 12 years old. And my cousin took me to see Godspell on Broadway. And I walked out of that theater saying, that's what I want to do. And that's when it hit me. It was the first time I had ever seen a Broadway show. And I knew from that moment on, that was what I was going to pursue.
And how old were you?
I was 12.
Okay. So this is kind of like the grade school years. When did you actually start trying the stage, so to speak? And then did you start singing first, or was it acting, or both?
You know what? To be honest with you, it was sort of neither. I had been told when I was in the fifth grade that I couldn't sing. And the fifth grade was singing for the sixth grade's confirmation. And three of us were told we couldn't sing. So we sat in study hall while the rest of the class went and learned the music for the confirmation mass. So I had in my head, I can't sing. I don't know how to sing. I can't sing. Whatever the reason I was told this. My father's family were all singers. And my father used to tell me, you don't have a voice. Go sing in the bathroom. You can't sing. And I said, this is what I want to do at that age. And when I was old enough to drive, I started taking voice lessons. I had gotten cast in a production of South Pacific at the Community Theater. And there was somebody there that did makeup, and she was a voice teacher, but she was helping out with the makeup on the show. And I was 16 years old when I started taking voice lessons from her. They were $5 an hour once a week. And she taught me to sing. And I always believed I couldn't sing, that I was just going to be an actor. But she says, no, you have a voice. Whoever told you that was incorrect. So I started studying with her. Literally, I got my first lead in the musical 3 months later, which was Once Upon a Mattress. And I played Dauntless. And I've not stopped taking voice lessons since then. So that's quite a number of years.
Right.
So,
you have a wide range, though.
I have a big range, and I really attribute it to good training. I was very fortunate when I was in college that Beverly Wolf, who was a mezzo soprano who performed opposite Beverly Sills, had leads in several shows at the Met. His husband was a doctor, and he grew up in the town where my college was, and he retired there. So she retired with him, and she decided to take on a handful of voice students at the college and teach. So I auditioned for her, and I was one of the people she selected to be one of her students. And she really taught me how to sing. She's the one who gave me the technique that I have and taught me how to increase my range. And the thing that I will never forget that she did was she made me sing with a candle, holding a lit candle in front of me. And if I blew out that candle, then I was using too much air. So she taught me how breath control and everything else, and
sing from the diaphragm
and everything. And she told me, she says, "You are a tenor." She says, "And don't let anybody tell you differently." She says, "You are a tenor. You are a true tenor." And I sang for years from that point on. I never stopped singing, and I've been doing musicals upon musical upon musical ever since.
Right. And then, so this is in Florida, or are you back in New York?
This was in Florida. No, this was still in Florida. I was at Florida Southern College, actually.
So when did you come to Los Angeles?
Okay, I first came to Los Angeles in 1988. I had done 2 workshops of the new Broadway show, and we were 10 days before we were supposed to open. We were postponed for 6 months. And I said, oh, well, I know I have this show. Let me go out to LA and see what LA is like. You know, I got 6 months to kill. Let me see if I can make some connections in New York and LA. So I came out to LA and the show ended up not happening. So I stayed in Los Angeles for about 4 years until I met my wife when I was on a vacation and she was from Chicago. And so I moved to Chicago to pursue her. Are you from Chicago?
My hometown, Italiano.
Okay.
Italian.
And then we were there for 12 years, and then an opportunity presented itself, and we moved back out to Los Angeles.
Wow. So, because it just popped into my head. So I take it through your career, you are like SAG, AFTRA, Equity, the whole.
And AGVA, yes.
And what?
AGVA, American Guild of Variety Artists.
Really? So for those who don't know, who are watching this for the first time or considering acting, exactly how do the guilds play in terms of, say, your career or anyone who joins them?
You know what? They watch out for you. They're unions. They make sure everything, you know, is as it is. You know, there's good and bad when it comes to that. Recently, you know, there's been some fighting amongst the unions on who has control of things. I know one job I was recently offered for a special concert. I was told had to be recast non-union because Equity would not allow them to give the contracts during the pandemic, even though it was going to be socially distanced and everything else. So there's good and bad, you know, you just have to take it. But they definitely, you know, knowing that I'm going to have a pension, knowing that I'm going to have this, knowing, you know, they've been beneficial to me, for me. And the best thing is, for certain auditions, if you are the union member, you go to the front of the list audition. You don't have to wait in those cattle calls that of this year.
And again, for those who don't know, SAG is the Screen Actors Guild. Then there's AFTRA, American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, and then Equity, which is the theater group, and then the, what was it, the AGVA?
American Guild of Variety Artists. Their contracts are Disneyland, Radio City Music Hall, venues such as that. They are the union leaders.
What about cruise ships? Do you do, is that?
I've done cruise ships. I've worked on the Disney cruise lines, actually.
Okay, and also
they are not governed by
didn't SAG and AFTRA join, or is that
they did? They merged together a couple of years ago. Not necessarily a fan of that merger, but it happened anyway.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so you moved to LA, I think you said in the 80s.
Yes.
And then you've done a lot of, I guess theater is your main source of interest in terms of where your career is headed and so on and so forth. You've done a couple of films and TV as well as
television, some film work, you know, you take what you can get, some voiceover work, whatever comes along. But, you know, my heart is on the stage. My heart is in theater.
Right. And you really shine out there. Let me tell you, his one-man show, The Face, right? That's what it's called?
Face behind the face, behind the face.
Oh my God. And we got some pictures to show you later. Okay, so here we go. We're into the 80s and stuff. Have you had productions that were like really challenging to take on and perform?
I think.
Or is it all like butter for you? Is it just?
You know what? You have to approach every single role completely differently. I think the most challenging role was in the musical version of The Immigrant. It was a 4-person show. It was more like an opera, and it was a very tough score to sing. The score itself was very challenging. So, and of course, the character had to age, I think, 40 years throughout the course of the play, and ends up basically an invalid by the end of the show after a stroke. And I think that may have been vocally the most challenging, but you know, this is what I do. So you just do it. But I think vocally that was very challenging because the score was all over the place.
Wow. Tell us about, for those who are watching, in terms of the live theater, because a lot of people come out here, they want to be movie stars or television stars or whatever. But talk about the experience of being on stage and the audience, you know, where every night, I would imagine, is completely different from.
Every night is completely different. And some nights you'll get a laugh and on a line, and another night you won't get a laugh on a line, that same line. But you do feed off of the energy of the audience. And you usually know within seconds whether an audience is with you or not with you. And sometimes you just have to work that much harder you know, and as long as you're true to what you're doing, they're going to come along. They're going to come along for the ride. And sometimes there are some shows that I've done where the material is just so flawless that, you know, the audience is with you no matter what. Like a funny thing happened on the way to the farm. I don't see how you could possibly mess up. Anybody could mess up a production of that, you know, and the audience from the get-go is with you 100%, you know. So, but I know that I have done shows where after 3 months, I say a line slightly different. And all of a sudden it takes on or sing a line different and takes on a completely different meaning. And the whole world opens up to me. And it's like doing a whole new show all over again, just because of that one little change of something that happened. And I can give you an example of that. I've done Guys and Dolls numerous times, but I've never played Nicely Nicely, which is funny because that is like the role I'm made for. But there's a line in the song that, and there I stood nicely passing out the whiskey. And most people sing that, you know, oh, they're just nicely passing out the whiskey. But it's nicely passing out the whiskey. So he's telling the story from his dream, what he's seen. And all of a sudden, I got a completely reimagined story for that song, just because nicely all of a sudden became about the character as opposed to the action.
Right.
Okay? And
Wow.
that was to me like fascinating when I realized that.
How are you? And I know this has probably happened to everybody. How are you with? Have you ever had a experience where, you know, you've done the play so many times, and then one particular night you forget the next cue or forget the next line? I mean, have you dealt with that at all, or are you like letter perfect?
I have, no, you know, I'm never. I don't think anybody's perfect. I have been in shows where things have happened, and I'm a really good ad-libber to get us back to where it has to be. So I don't fear not knowing the lines. I mean, I know my lines, I'm pretty confident, but I do know that I will find a way to get us where we have to get to. And I was doing a production in Chicago, The Little Mermaid, years ago. And Ariel's dress split just as she was about to come out on stage. Her outfit did. And they're trying to sew her in, and I'm the only person on the stage. And I went into an instant monologue. I swear it was 15 minutes long, even though I know it wasn't that long, about life under the sea and no one worried and what could have happened. And you just.
So she didn't get out. She missed her cue. Is that what it was?
She had to miss her cue. She was going to come out like with no clothes on because the costume changed. You know what happened? Something happened. I don't know if somebody stepped on it and she was running out and it ripped off. I don't really recall the exact happens, but they had to pin it all on her to get her out. And so, you know, that was challenging. And when I worked on Disney Cruise Lines, when I did it was Phil and Hercules the musical. And the lift to bring Hades up to the stage, which was 3 decks below the stage floor, would sometimes jam. And he'd have to get off the lift and run up the 3 flights of stairs to make his entrance. And I can't tell you the number of times that happened, but I had to come up with something, you know, constantly.
And you were Phil, right? Phil
Yeah, I was Phil. Yeah,
and his character is designed for that, for the ad-libbing and the whole. Yeah. Oh my God, was that a fun experience working on the cruise?
That was a great experience, and the best part of it for me was my daughter wasn't born yet, but my sons came on 17 cruises, and the characters would look for them in the audience from the stage during the shows and everything, and where my cabin was, and if friends of Mickey and Minnie were greeting guests that day, they would come and sit and watch cartoons with my kids because my room was air conditioned and it was easier for them to watch as the friends they were than to take a break than it was to actually go to where they could take their breaks. And wow. So my children had a warped sense of reality because these guys were their friends. Okay? Wow. Aladdin, you know, Cinderella, all of them were just.
How old were they at this time?
My oldest was 5, and they were 5 and 3 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 and 3.
How cool is that, huh? So how do you feel about the condensed shows that Disney does? And Was it a full stage or
Oh,
how
it
did
was
they?
a full stage. Oh, it was a full stage, fully costumed. I mean, I wish I'd sent you some of those pictures. We did 3 shows. So we did 6 shows a week. We did the same show because Disney had a 3-day cruise and a 4-day cruise. So 6 days a week, we did 2 shows a night. And they were full productions. They all ran about 50 minutes. Each one cost about, I think, $8 to $10 million a piece to produce. They were big shows.
Wow.
Yes, they were not scaled down at all. They were major productions.
And which ship was this? Was this the
This was
Princess?
the Disney Wonder.
Wonder. Okay. Very cool. And now is the process for that in terms of, I've heard a lot of actors might want to, go out and do the cruise ships when we get them back. In terms of entertainment, is the process the same? You like audition in Burbank and then it's how?
What happened? There was a casting director that had seen me audition for other things on Broadway. And I got a phone call one day and they said, "Hey, we're doing this show. I think you're perfect for this role. Are you interested? Would you like to do it?" Basically, I was offered the role. I did not audition for it.
Wow.
And I said, "I'd love to do it. What do they pay?" And I said, "That's not enough." I mean, my wife was pregnant with our 3rd child at the time, and I didn't want to have to be away. And they said, "What would it take to get you to do this?" Because they were just creating the roles at the time. And I said, "Well, you'd have to triple the offer."
Wow.
Never expecting them to say yes, and they did. So I did it. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Since then, they don't pay like that, but this was back in the beginning. Now they'll get you for whatever they can.
And
But I got it.
I haven't seen the show you did, but I gotta say it must have been perfect casting for you. I mean,
I thought it was. I thought it was, and I know that they're bringing They did a version of it last summer in Central Park.
really?
And I told my agent. I said, "Hey, I'm sure it's cast, but see who they got doing this, and see who throw my hat into the ring." But they gave it to a Tony winner, so I was out of luck.
So I take it Danny DeVito wasn't available for
No, he was not available. The guy that won the Tony for playing the role of the genie in Aladdin was doing it. I can't think of his name at this moment.
Right. Okay. Wow. That's exciting. Let's do a quick look and you can talk about how fabulous this is. This is your website. Pretty much what I like too is you've got you got the different looks, obviously the headshots. How important are those headshots today? I mean, because everything's digital, right?
Everything is digital, but my agents have every one of my headshots, and they submit whatever they think is right for what the audition, what the casting director is looking for to see how much they can tell. So I have my commercial headshot, my dramatic headshot, and I have every sort of character you can figure out in between. When I had a beard for one show, I had pictures taken with the beard. It's just when I had to shave my head for another show, I had pictures taken with the shaved head.
Really? What show is that?
No, that was the Addams Family when I was playing.
Oh, Uncle Fester. Yeah. I like this. What is this?
Oh, look! Wait, can you get into Disney Theatricals? Right here, there might be some pictures from.
Okay.
There might be some pictures in there from this when I did Snow White and Enchanting Musical. There I am as Phil and Hercules and Meg.
Where? Oh.
See? Meg, that's the top one. That was just backstage with Hercules. And there's the whole cast of Hercules the musical.
Very nice. Little Mermaid. They don't blow up. I can't blow them up, apparently.
You should be able to. Again, I haven't looked at my website in a while, and I know that it needs to be revamped. So I got to figure out why those pictures aren't opening. They should all open. That was a show called Voyage of the Ghost Ship. And in that show, there was I want to say it was like 7-minute sword fight, swashbuckling, swinging through the rafters and everything else. And the only time I've ever gotten injured on stage was during that production. There was a swing on for one of the demon ghosts during the sword fighting scene. And, everybody had choreographed routines. And for whatever reason, she didn't do the routine and she got me right in the leg. And I mean, she definitely took a piece out of my leg. And I bled through the rest of the show before I get off stage to have it looked at. But those things that was the only time that that's happened.
I do remember the babies. I love that show.
That was fun. We did that in the off-Broadway. It was the 2016-17 season. It was at St. Luke's Theater on 46th and 8th. Was,
yeah, but I got to see the preview here.
You got to see the preview when we did it before we took it to New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Singing a few songs.
And I don't know if you noticed, but who's this little handsome devil here? Who's this guy? And then over here's another show, which we'll get to. Let's go to those pictures. Some of the work that you've done. This obviously is your headshot.
My current headshot.
Gosh, you look like you're 25 years old. I tell you.
You know, it was the tan.
Okay, so this is a big thing for you and Theater West, and such a wonderful productions you guys have done. Want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Storybook Theater was started by Lloyd Schwartz and his wife, Barbara Mallory Schwartz, about 37 years ago. And there are a total of 19 different original musicals that play in, I won't say rep because some of them haven't been done in a long time, but usually they try to do 2 shows a year. And they're all geared towards families, but their target audiences are 3 to 9-year-olds. And recently they put 6 that were recorded online for your viewing pleasure. So you could see these 6 storybook shows. Out of the 19 storybook shows I've either been in and directed or directed, I think, 14 out of the 19 shows. And the ones I have not had anything to do with haven't been done since I've been around. So I can say.
So what are your favorites of these shows?
You know what? My favorite is usually the one I'm working on when I'm working on it. But I have to say my favorite would have to be The Adventures of Peter Rabbit, only because I wrote the book and lyrics to it. And that was the last original one they did, and that ran last year. We opened last October. And unfortunately, the pandemic closed us down in March. We were going to be running through the end of June.
Right.
Got nominated for several Valley Theater Awards, but the award ceremony never took place. And I just, there's a picture of it. And I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Who are these actors?
Oh boy, thank you for asking. Kathy Garrett, who played Nana Bunny, Ashley Fox Linton, who some of you may have seen as Belinda in Wicked in the LA Company. She played Cottontail. Will Collier played Mr. McGregor. And I cannot say Alex's last name, who played Peter Rabbit. I'm sorry, Alex. I just don't know how to pronounce it. It's an Armenian name, and there's too many vowels and syllables in it for me to decipher. And I'm sure when it says it, I can do it.
Okay. Same show, I take it?
Yes.
I love the set too.
Yeah, the set was fun. It was a charming show with good messages, and children as well as their parents. And that's the best thing about Storybook. The shows are for everybody. I know you bring your children there, and you'll see people like being on their phones in the audience and stuff. And all of a sudden, they're no longer on their phones because they got into the show. They think it's for children, but there are so many things that are written that parents are going to laugh at.
I got to say, every time I've seen the show, unsuspectingly how witty and how smart they are, because sometimes there's a few double entendres, but not in any kind of
Right.
adult way, and they're hysterical. It's like it'll go right over the kid's head, but the adults will go, "Oh my God," and get it. So
we had one of those in The Adventures of Peter Rabbit. Nana Bunny shows up. The premise is she's coming to bunny sit because their parents are going away, and they figure they can get away with all these other things. And Nana Bunny shows up, and she says, "Oh, look at all my favorite grand bunnies. My, how many more of there are you than the last time I visited?" Well, that's rabbits for you, okay? And the adults it's one of the first lines in the show. The adults just give a big laugh, and from there on, they take the ride.
They're hooked. Ooh, there you are with a duck.
That was me as the giant and Jack and the Beanstalk.
Is that Barbara?
That is Barbara. Barbara played Jack's mother.
Okay, and who are the other two?
Melanie and oh gosh, See, it's a sign of age. I can't remember people's names anymore.
Uh-oh.
Oh
That's,
my gosh, I've done 5 shows with him. I feel so bad.
that's okay. That's okay. He's okay. Forgive him, guys.
It's not okay. He watches this.
Okay, this is, let me blow this one up. Ooh, you're being beaten up. What's going on here?
Yeah, this was Waiting for Lefty. A great play that was done at Theater West a few years ago. It was Ovation nominated for Best Play in a Large Theater at the time. And that's Dan Kehoe and several other Theater West members in the show.
Okay. Is it Italian themed?
But it's all about union reps that are not being taken care of. The union is getting ready to strike, and they're waiting for their leader to show up. At the very end of the play, I don't want to ruin it, but if people know it, at the very end of the play, they got Lefty. And that's why he doesn't show up for the meeting, and then they decide they're going to strike, and that's how the show ends. But it's a very powerful piece.
Wow. All right, Mr. Uncle Fester here.
Yes.
Tell me about this production. How fun was this?
You know what? This was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had, just to play such an iconic character. And
Wait,
about the audience.
wait. For those who don't know, this is the Addams Family, the musical.
I played Uncle Fester. Gomez was Bronson Pinchot, and Rachel York was Morticia. And it was a great cast. But for whatever reason, everybody had
Strangers, right?
I'm sorry? Perfect Strangers. Yeah, he was Fauci Bartakamus or whatever. And Rachel York, was Tony nominated for a couple of shows, I believe. And,
Who are they to work for? How are they work with? As
great, absolutely great. Very giving, very much. There was no divas in this show, is all I can tell you. So it was just, but we had each other laughing, the entire cast, Candy Milo. I mean, everybody that was in it. We just cracked each other up on a regular basis. And
where was it?
I'm sorry.
Where was this?
I did with 3D Theatricals. So we toured. We did a couple of stops in California.
Okay.
Original Broadway sets and costumes and the new book.
I'm not familiar with 3D. What is that?
3D Theatricals. Wow, it's one of the bigger producing companies in Orange County, in Southern California. They are housed at what is the theater? Oh my gosh! You know what, TJ? I'm sorry. I'm just failing with questions today. Cerritos Performing Arts Center. That's where they're housed at.
Okay, this is cool.
Yeah, this was done. This was at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center and the Plummer Auditorium. I'm not sure which stop that was for that.
How is the play? How is the play to do? Is this a fun one for?
It's a fun one to be in, and with the new book, because having seen the original Broadway production of the show, I wasn't a fan. And when I got cast in the show, of course, work is work. And I'm like, well, this isn't the same show. It had been rewritten, and we had done the rewritten version of the show, which fixed what I thought were the major problems in the original Broadway production. We did the original, it was the original Broadway sets and costumes. The whole show itself just really worked. And this is one of those shows where either the audience is with you or not with you. And this one is, as soon as Thing opened the curtain and the family was standing behind the fence to the cemetery, instantaneous applause. So, I mean, like an ovation like you can't even imagine, just because of the iconic characters that they were seeing on stage.
And here you're a little baby.
I am Joshua. Joshua was from a 4-character musical I co-wrote lyrics with, book by Lloyd Schwartz and lyrics. And Matt DeHaan was the composer, who was also the composer for The Adventures of Peter Rabbit, who wrote the music for that show as well. And that's the show we did off Broadway. And it was a 4-scene, because it was no acts, it was 4 scenes. And the first one was in uterine, waiting to be delivered. The second one was in the nursery at the hospital. The third scene was at a mommy and me class. And the fourth scene was first day of preschool. And it's these 4 children that their lives are intertwined through from being in the hospital, waiting to be delivered till they go to preschool together.
Now tell us a little about your character. You had a very unique character in terms of personality.
Yeah, well, my character was known as the Jewish baby. His name was Joshua. And he has all these neuroses that are typical, but he knows he's going to grow up to be a doctor just because. But he has a big number called cutting remarks. And it's all about when he finds out he's going to have a bris and what that means. And it's hysterically funny. In fact, I think you can listen to it on my website. I think you can listen to the song on there. I don't want to give it away, but it's all about why he has to have a circumcision.
Wow. Oh.
This is when I sang Hayachi.
Hayachi.
Yes. That was part of my one-man show where I do a bit where
this is the face behind the face, behind the face.
Face behind the face, behind the face. And I talk about the fact that my father's family loved opera, and they all could sing it. I had one of my uncles, one of my father's brothers, who had a voice. In fact, he sang a song called Mama, which is an Italian folk song. You may know it. Mama, Mama.
Wow.
He sang it at the opening of the original Madison Square Garden for Fiero LaGuardia, because it was Mayor LaGuardia's favorite song. So, like I said earlier, my father's family all sang, you know. I am actually related to Enrico Caruso, but that's on my mother's side, not my father's side.
Wow.
He's a distant cousin. But I talk about growing up, I heard opera all the time. And I think that's the reason why I detest opera, because I definitely have a voice that's more suited for opera than, it's suited for everything. But I do have the opera in me.
And what I loved about the play is the subtlety of how you did everything from the costume changes to the songs that you did and the inner dialogue. Actually, it's outer dialogue. You're basically talking to yourself.
Yes.
But what you're thinking.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah, it's hysterical. Not to mention you have one heck of a voice. Let me tell you. This particular scene is this the transition to our next picture, I believe.
This is a transition.
Now,
after one of the things of talking about from the opera moment, I am putting on my bass for the opera number, and I tried basically everything there is to do in showbiz, in the theater. I've worked with Disney, I've worked with puppets, sang and danced on cruise ships, was with the circus. I've done all of these. What else is there, And my inner voices will think outside of the box. So this is what transcribes, and I sing the song as I am redoing myself to try out something new. And this is what happens.
Ready? Here we go.
I go into Antonetta, okay, which nobody saw coming.
No, it was so hysterical. Do you remember? I remember the audience laughing for like 5 minutes. I think you had to pause because we were laughing.
I had to stop because they couldn't get over what happened with the transformation, because basically they're watching me get made up, but they don't know to what extent. And I walk behind the screen, and the next thing I do is I pop up with the wig on while my dresser is dressing me behind the screen. So I'm still singing, and then I walk out in the full costume. This is as I come out in this costume. Actually, that is a Bob Mackie gown.
Oh my God, you came out with that wig and the boobs, and it was like, oh my God. Didn't see that coming. Laughed for like 5 minutes. I think I do remember you having to like kind of wait till we all calm down before you could continue.
Which was a good thing, because I had to catch my breath. Trust me, that was a big challenge. Like I said, Bob Mackie designed this gown. It was originally designed for Vicki Lawrence for an episode of Mama's Family.
Really?
Yes.
How'd you get a hold of it?
I went to his warehouse because I was looking for something, and I was telling him what I was doing, and the gentleman that ran the warehouse recently passed away, and he says, "I've got just the dress for you." He says, "and I'm sure it'll fit." I'm like, "Okay," and he brought this out, and I said, "That's it, that's perfect," and we designed the number around the dress.
Wow. Very cool. Did you get to keep it or did you have to bring it back?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you get to keep it or did you have to
No,
bring
I
it?
didn't get to keep it. I did bring it back. And then when they liquidated the warehouse a couple of years ago, I wish I had known about it because I would have went and bought it. I did do my show again and I had it recreated.
Oh,
So I now have a copy of it, but not the original Bob.
when are you going to do this show again? I mean, when obviously when theaters are open, but
You know,
is it,
when theaters are open, I don't know. I've been approached again by Theater West to do it when we come back. I have put together another show that I think when theater is allowed to happen that I'd like to do first. But this is going to have to come back. I've had 3 runs of it, maybe 4 runs of it. And I think it's time to bring it back because people really enjoyed it. And every time I change it up a little bit, I add something. And it's actually a book musical. It's not like a cabaret show. It's a book musical. So there's an actual story that takes place. And that's the
and,
thing with
and
most one-man shows.
right. And there's a couple points in it which very heartfelt, very, very touching. And it's like, and then, when you do things like this with the comedy, it's like, you really take us on a little bit of a roller
I
coaster.
did. And I have to be honest with you, this was decided the last week that we were writing the show. I mean, it was the last, and I'm like, there was a song I wanted. I was trying to figure out how to do it. And Calvin Remsburg, who directed the show, said to me, there's this great number, and I don't even remember what the song was. He said, but, you're talking about, we're at this point, he says, what about doing drag? I'm like, what about doing drag? He says, do you think we could pull this off? And I said, hey, I'm game. Let's try it. So I went home, wrote out what I thought would work. We worked on it, went and got the clothes, the costume. And when we did it for the very first night that we're doing the show, it was in there and it was so well received that we kept it in the show.
Yes. Amazing. All right. What's this about here? I think I know this guy.
Yes, he happens to be a personal friend of mine, and he is going to be Zooming with children during the holiday season. And
Really?
yes, and so it's because of the pandemic, malls, Santas are not around, and I think to me, children are the future. I know it's a song lyric and everything else, but you've got to bring the magic to them because that's the only way we will all survive is to have something to hope for and believe in. And that's one of the reasons why I do storybook theater. It's so rewarding being a lot of these kids' very first theatrical experience. It's very rewarding. Like we were talking about a little bit, Lloyd and Barbara started it 37 years ago. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of children's first theatrical experiences were there, but
Well, let me tell you this for centuries, for being around for a few centuries, he looks really good.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the beard needs to be trimmed.
Now this guy, what do I owe you?
This guy gets to come out every once in a while, especially if I'm casting those kinds of roles.
Right. This is one of your headshots, one of your more dramatic
Yeah, this
headshots.
is one of my headshots. He does work occasionally.
Okay.
Actually, he's been auditioning a lot this season for that stuff.
I tell you, you've still got an amazing career. You're like a quadruple threat. You write, you produce, you direct, you act, you sing, you dance, you probably bake cookies. I don't know. And it sounds like it just never ends. Okay. Whenever I interview, especially actors and things like that, or people in the theater, I always have a couple questions that I ask them. So, what would you say is the best or your most favorite production you have done?
Wow, that's a tough question.
And I always get that reaction.
It is a tough question because it's always what I'm doing now. But since I'm not doing a show right now,
Think back.
okay, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to go with the last show I did. If nothing else, I did. It Should Have Been You, the West Coast premiere of the musical that was directed originally on Broadway by David Hyde Pierce. And starred Tyne Daly and Harriet Harris, and she was in a bunch of people. And I did the West Coast premiere, and I played the father of the bride, basically, and It Should Have Been You. And I think that was such a great show. It was directed by Josh Grassetti, who was the original Shoulda in It Should Have Been You on Broadway. And so I'm going to say that was probably my favorite production, but it was because it was the most recent. It was so well received too. So
Okay, let's twist that a little. What would you say is your favorite musical show? Not necessarily you've done, but
no,
what? Oh,
I'm got to think about it because there's certain shows I adore, like 1776, because that's you get to be an actor in it, even if you're singing. The acting, there's what 22-minute scene without a song in that play, and so maybe 1776. I love doing 1776.
wow! And who have you played in that show?
Samuel Chase.
Really?
Yes. Even though I would love to play Adams. I don't know if I'm physically right, but although physically I do look like the original real John Adams. But they want a romantic heartthrob in that role.
Oh. So what would you say is your favorite comedy?
Ooh. Musical or play?
Both.
Okay. My favorite play comedy would probably be Lend Me a Tenor.
Oh.
Okay. My favorite musical comedy, old school, a toss up between Guys and Dolls or Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Floor.
Okay. Definitely good ones. Do you do a lot of watching of television or cable or streaming?
I don't stream a lot. I'm still like a dinosaur. I watch situation comedies that come on once a week. I've been getting into some Netflix shows, especially during the pandemic, more than others.
Like what? The Crown?
I've seen the first season and a half of The Crown. My wife likes that show more than I do. What's that one with Jason Bateman? That's really good.
And, Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No, Jason Bateman. In the town in Missouri in the Ozarks. Ozarks. I really like the Ozarks. I like Shameless.
I'm curious with the kids in the house. Do you guys have Disney Plus?
We do have. My kids are old now. Okay, they're 20, 23, and 25.
Oh,
we do have Disney Plus. I did enjoy Encore on Disney Plus. I don't know if you've seen that.
So no one's watching The Mandalorian?
You know what? I should watch it. I've worked with Pedro Pascal.
Really?
Yes. We.
Ooh, I gotta ask. Is he good to work with?
He's great to work with. And the thing is, I didn't know who he was, which is even better when you don't know who he was. And I'm like, why did they name this character Pedro? I didn't realize he was playing himself in the what we were doing. It's a Happy Socks Christmas themed mini movie commercial. It's out there. Just Google Happy Socks Pedro Pascal and you'll see it. And I was, why did they name this guy Pedro? I just couldn't figure out why when I was reading the script. And then, Pedro's trailer. Okay. And then he introduced his name to me. I was introduced as Pedro. I'm like, oh, your name is Pedro and you're playing Pedro? And he's like, no, I'm playing myself. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. But I didn't know who he was until I got home and my kids told me who it was. That happens a lot. I did something with this band. Again, I'm a dinosaur. The Killers this past winter. The last thing I did their new music video. And I'm like, oh, I worked with this group called The Killers. And my son's like, that's like the best group of all time, my favorite group. And I'm like, I didn't know their music. I didn't know who they were. I mean, I think it's better when you don't know.
Wow. Okay. Another question. A lot of people watching this get to learn about, the acting side and your adventures and so on and so on. If they were on a teeter-totter of deciding whether or not they want to be actors or singers or performers or dancers, what advice would you give to someone? Obviously the pandemic's going to have to eventually go away, but what would you tell somebody who's thinking about this?
To be honest with you, if you can't think or see yourself doing anything else, and you know that you're going to die if you don't do it, then do it. Otherwise, it's very challenging. Okay. I mean, I still, even to this day, cannot imagine myself doing anything else. And I'm one of the lucky ones that I've been able to do what I wanted to do. Like I said, since I'm 12 years old, I knew this was the path I wanted to take. But you have to want it more than anything. And even if you're not a dancer, you got to take dance class. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to move. I don't care, you know. And if you can't sing, that's one thing. I personally, everybody can sing. And I teach, you know, I moderate the Betty Garrett musical comedy workshop. And I'll tell you, bring in a song and I will get you to sing. You know, I just firmly believe everybody can tell a story. You can tell a story that you can sing. You just have to find your path, your truth through that song to do it. So you just
but it's also a lot of work too, right? You got to commit to it, right? You got to
commit, please. Like I said, I still take a voice lesson once a week. Well, not during the pandemic because she's not saying, oh, I do it. I take voice lessons. I take acting classes. I work on scenes. You know.
Hey, listen, of all your talents, I think singing is the one you got it. You're really good at it. So what do the lessons do for you?
You know, they just
keep you sharp,
me in perfect shape. An athlete has to constantly train. Okay. And you find you get lazy. You know, I've not sang nearly enough, even though I'm probably singing at least once a week. I've not sang nearly enough or as often as I usually do during the regular time. You know, what fun is it singing for yourself? You know, I put together this show, so I've been forcing myself to sing. But, you know, it's just like having a coach, you know, keeping you on track. You're getting sloppy. You didn't lift that pallet. You know, it's just to have somebody chirping in my ear what I already know. Not saying that I can't do it. I'm not saying that when I am teaching, I don't do it for other people. It's just to make sure I am in the best possible voice at all times. You know, You don't get those high C's for a while, you lose them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you just lose them. You can train yourself to get back there, but if you don't keep in top vocal shape, your voice is, and I'm a powerhouse. And one of the things everybody's always said to me is, you know, not everybody can sing 8 shows a week. I mean, it's tough. And, you know, you can sing 8 shows a week. Like the show you were talking about, my one-man show, I was doing that every night. And I had 17 songs in a row in that show, you know, and they were songs. They had to be songs. And, you know, so I think it's just the training. And that's the reason why I take my voice lessons every week, to keep me in good physical vocal shape.
Wow.
Keep me from
very cool. So would you say singing is your favorite versus acting or dancing or?
Well, you know what? Singing, I act the song.
Oh.
So to me, the acting is more important in the song and my voice comes with it. Okay. I'm known for my voice, but to me, it's the acting end of it. It's be able to live and find, you know, those truths, those moments and those lyrics. It's the acting of the song.
And for me as an audience, to watch you emote that way makes the lyrics that much more, you know, hitting it home, powerful. So
one of the analogies I use in my classes, the song, you go on a trip, you pack your suitcase and you got your socks, your underwear, your deodorant, you have this, and every one of those things fit into that suitcase. So when you're singing a song, every lyric is like one of those, every word is like something that's in your suitcase. And it serves a completely different purpose. So I literally think about every single word and what it means in that sentence or in that lyric, rather, and how it pertains to me or what I see. And if I don't have that story and I don't see that in my head and I'm not living that truth, I always am. I don't know what else it is, but I literally unpack every song I've ever sang.
Again, another tribute to your talent. You said 17 songs in your one-man show, and you put that much commitment into each of those songs. It's just you can't lose. And trust me, I saw the show. You just knocked it out of the park. And it was funny. I mean, I didn't expect it to be as funny, and it was wonderful. So I definitely want to see it when you put it up again.
Thank you. I'll tell you, one of the surprising factors about that show is that people said it was their story. They related to it. It was, even though it was my story, it was every man's story. Everybody had those things happen to them in their lives and how they reacted to it, and their emotional connection to their family members or their grandmother. People loved the song about my grandmother, and it brought back their memories of their grandmother, and so everybody related to it. I think that's why the show was successful, is that people felt it was their story. Somehow it was their story.
Right. Good. That's what a good story does. It makes it's relatable and generally kind of informative, insightful. So again, you hit it out of the park.
Thank you.
Anyway, listen, Anthony, I appreciate so much that you're doing the show for me. This conversation was more than enlightening and fun. And let me tell you, you're just one great guy with, I'll say it again, you're just full of talent and you're overflowing with it. And it's sad because of this pandemic that we can't see more of you. But it's like,
okay. Yeah, Tony, it's very difficult not to film. It's very difficult not being creative. I mean, I've found creative outlets. I've written another children's show, The Three Little Pigs, and The Not So Bad Wolf. Whether it'll come to production remains to be seen, depending on how long this pandemic is, but the music is being written as we speak. So, if it's any good, it'll get up. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. So once again, I thank you for doing this. And for those viewers who haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do. There's a button there that says subscribe. There's also a little bell. You click that. And every time I drop a video, it'll send you out a little email so you can do it. I'll put Anthony's information below. So if you want to click on his website right away, you'll see it below. If you have any questions for me, let me know. If I can't answer them, I'll forward them to Anthony. And then hopefully he'll respond. But check out some of my other shows. I have the Unboxing the Geek Authority, where I actually open up new stuff and show it to you for the first time, and I see it for the first time. It's really cool. I have the Geek Authority's Mysterious Chamber of Collectibles, where I actually show you stuff that I've been collecting for years, and you get to see what crazy things I've been collecting. I also have a show called Talk About, where I get together with family and friends, and we talk about various TV shows, subjects like Cobra Kai, the new series, or an emotionally 3-part series where we talked about Disneyland and California Adventure closing. So that was a really fun and emotional show. Anyway, Anthony, again, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. I think we all learned a lot, and just keep plugging there, because everything you do seems to be magic from an entertainment standpoint. And like I said, let me know when you put up your own show and so on. So again, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's say goodbye to everybody. Bye. Thank you so much. See you next time.